Made myself look like a complete tart last week when I couldn't remember who Bismarcky was, but I want everyone to know that I do remember, and I have remembered, right? Anyway, I've skipped, like I explained at the end of the last episode, because I've done the Grid Grand Slam now, I consider myself moved up in the world. So I'm moving up a category. So we're going from coupes and hatchbacks to the performance class on the street championship, which is why I've skipped a 12 event championship, because doing a 10 event championship took me like, I don't know, an hour and a half. I think it all added up to in the end, at least. And I know that I had to do all kinds of qualifying and multiple races in some of the rounds at that one. But, you know, I don't want to do a 12 episode championship as well. I'm not particularly down for that. I think the Elgato is recording fine. I'm not sure. It looks like it is. I think I had a bit of a problem at the beginning of the race, but now it's sorted itself out, which is alright. That's fine. So here we are in these performance cars, which I wouldn't really class as performance cars. I know Americans are always impressed by Mercedes and Audis and BMWs and stuff, but here in ye old England land, they are plentiful. There are loads of them. They're everywhere. They're really generic, and I don't particularly like them. You know, when it said performance cars, I was kind of hoping for, I don't know, something else, but whatever, it's fine. I can deal with it. Besides, it sounds nice. It's got a good engine note. I can appreciate a good engine note. Engine note, not engine note. I can speak, I promise. Oh, Jesus. Well, I'm not sure how I got away with that one, but somehow I did. Barely any damage either. These are some proper sturdy cars. Coming out of that accident. That guy... So a guy went for a bit of a spin, and then he went airborne. And I was distracted talking about some fucking bullshit to do with engine notes or whatever, and didn't notice what was going on. And then rear-ended a guy. But the point, the important thing to remember is that I lived. And not only did I live, but I profited off the whole scenario by gaining a few places. And now I'm setting up, well, not now after that corner, but any second now, I'll be setting up to take the lead of this race and win it. If I could not destroy my car, I know my car wasn't really all that damaged after that. I'm not a fan of that happened, so, you know, I thought I'd just back out of it and try it again. Fanatec. This championship is sponsored by Fanatec. I know a lot of people use Fanatec toy steering wheels for their, not even just for simulators where you'd need a toy steering wheel, because they're not optimized for using an Xbox controller or something like that, like, or Project Cars, which when it shipped for consoles, they somehow forgot that most people using a console will just have a controller and won't have a steering wheel. So when they buy a racing game, they'll expect to just be able to race with a controller. And then they buy Project Cars, and the way it's configured for the controller is fucking abhorrent. That wasn't the best choice for them, but There are people that use like toy steering wheels to play the Codemasters F1 games and stuff, and Forza. It's not really necessary. Unless like Forza, because Forza has a massive input lag thing going on where like the maximum angle you can steer is determined by how fast you're going, which makes all the cars feel really understeery. And I notice this mostly in Forza 4. It feels like the cars have like no grip and won't turn. There's a guy that went flying earlier on. His car's more than a little bit broken. I'm just gonna zip past him like that. But yeah, you only really need a steering wheel for like R Factor or iRacing and stuff, where like it's advantageous to use a steering wheel compared to like, because a lot of the time it's unnecessary. You know, a steering wheel is like a 200 quid bit of plastic. It's not really necessary, but I can see how they're pretty cool. I wouldn't mind a steering wheel, but I don't think I'd shell out for one, you know? I thought Team Kicker was supposed to be a good team. You know, because they were competitive with me in Raven West at some point. Can't remember when, but I know they were. Being around the block, what's that mean? Got another achievement. Unlocked Pro GT World Masters. Now, my teammate didn't have such a good time as I did, but I'm dragging up the team by getting those good results, as I usually do. So yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of steering wheels and stuff for racing games. I feel like most of the time you can get away with using a controller and no one will really notice and it won't really matter all that much. That's a very white crowd if we're in Dubai, I'm gonna be honest. I want to talk about Girl and the Insatiable, actually, because being home alone has reminded me not of the actual film Home Alone. I was worried I managed to spin my teammate out there. Luckily, I haven't. It didn't remind me of the actual film Home Alone. It reminded me of that one scene in that one episode of Girl and the Insatiable where he gets left behind by his family. Well, his family, the family he's staying with, and he calls up Dylan, and he's like, "I've been left home alone," and then she's like, "Well, why don't you come here?" And he's like, "No, I'm not going to do the face," and then he ends up doing the face because I found that really funny. I did not do the gag justice at all, but if you see what I mean, like the Home Alone face, and it occurred to me that I haven't done the face yet either, so I definitely need to do one of those before the fam gets back. I think my parents are in Ipswich, and my sisters are at my nan's house, which is in riding distance, and I've talked about riding my bike to my nan's house a few times, and how I always almost die when I'm on my way there. So they're not off to their uncle's funeral, and they've just left me behind because I'd be irritating. It's not like that, is what I meant to say. I do wish there was more Golan the Insatiable to watch, because it's probably my favorite cartoon. I really like it. I like Golan, I like Dylan, I like the background characters, I like the dynamic between Golan and Dylan, I like the humor, I find it funny. I find it funny, lol, haha. Shared it with my friend, he liked it. It's a good time. You know, we had a good time with Golan the Insatiable. So I wish it hadn't ended after just 2 seasons. And the first season is way better than the second season. The second season is still good, but the first season is pretty much perfect. The second season retreads a lot of the same ground. And, you know, the animation's kind of weird. Not a huge fan of the animation of the second season. It's smoother, but it doesn't really fit, if you see what I mean. There are some things from the second season that they could have put in the first season to make it perfect. But overall, I'd say that the first season of Golan was the best. And I wish there was more. But there isn't. There should be, but there isn't. I've had a good idea for the thumbnails. Instead of like taking a screenshot of the actual lineup of the cars at the beginning of the events, I want to take a screenshot of where they get a picture of the car with the results like on a black bar below it at the end, and then I'll just put like the Grid Autosport logo over the results, and I'll put the episode number over it as well, just to block it all out. And that way, it can look fancy schmancy. I think that'd be neat. I'm gonna start doing that now. Switch up the thumbnails a little bit, make my videos harder to find, that sort of thing. And I've not had a good start at all. I'm going to have to be more aggressive. I was worried about dinging my car for some reason, even though this is Grid, and dinging your car is the name of the game. I mean, sorry, I could have gone for a fucking Reddit joke there, so just be thankful that I didn't. The point is, I should be being more aggressive than I am, because there's no room on these street circuits to overtake cleanly. And he started braking early, and he covered the inside. I should have chosen Razor to get to drive the Mercedes in the second half of this championship instead of the first half, but I dislike that the Audi they were offering for the first half of the season enough that I decided to go for Kicker instead. Just so we're all clear on why I chose the team that I did for this this season. Besides, the Alfa Romeo 8C is pretty nice. I prefer the 4C, and I mean the 8C is pretty much just a shrunk down version of the 4C. Is it? Or is the 8C the original? No, the 4C is a shrunk down version of the 8C. So yeah, the 8C is the Alfa Romeo that I like. The other Alfa Romeo that I like is the one that they had in DTM with the exhaust pipes that pointed towards the ground. That was a nice car. I'm not a particularly huge fan of Alfa Romeo outside of that, to be honest. Because, you know, I don't really like it when my car breaks down every 5 minutes. That's why I don't really like Fiat either. Although I don't like Fiat because pretty much the only car they make is the 500, and I'm not a big fan of the 500. I prefer the Mini. Just like everyone should, the 500 has like no redeeming features compared to the Mini. It doesn't Doesn't even look good. Italian cars are supposed to look good, but the Mini is better looking. I mean, I know the guy that designed it was Italian, I'm pretty sure, but still. The Mini was mostly a British effort, and was only the designer being Italian. And I mean, I know it was his idea to put the engine sideways as well, and he actually made it possible for the Mini to exist. But the Mini's not an Italian car, and the Fiat 500 is. If you see what I'm getting at. Like, the Mini works better. I'm gonna guess it's got better performance. It looks better. It's a better looking car. And I say it's more of a classic. And it's an attainable classic as well, because they made loads of them. I mean, I know they made loads of the 500 as well, but they were still making the Mini until, like, the 90s at least. Probably even the early 2000s. When they probably only stopped when BMW bought the rights to it and, like, made the new Mini. You know? The one with the ridiculous, huge rev counter in the middle of the dashboard. I wanted to drive for Intel, and the Intel car is the one that's leading this race. I wanted to drive for Intel because they had the BMW, and of the big 5-door cars that, like, the first half of this championship was about, I wanted to drive the BMW, just because I like it the best out of them all. The Mercedes seems pig fat, and I just don't like the Audi on the whole, so I wanted to drive the BMW, but Oakley, not Intel, Oakley. They just didn't give me the offer, so I couldn't drive it. And if Raven West couldn't beat them, then there's no shame in not beating Raven West, who didn't beat Oakley. And anyway, Team Kicker is I'm still first overall. Team Kicker's dropped down to third. I'm still first overall, and as long as I can hang on to that, I'll be fine. Back to Paris for Champs-Élysées. Yeah, I'm gonna go for Champs-Élysées because that sounds about right. Just got to try and get first, as usual. But you know, should be aiming for first anyway. But first is where I want to be, in order to ensure that I win the drivers overall. And to do that, I need to be more aggressive than I was in the last race. And to be more aggressive, what I need to do is not... I mean, I know it's aggressive to attack curbs and stuff, but what I need to avoid doing is spinning. And I'm not going to overtake anyone if I'm stuck in their back bumper. So if I could try and... Nope, his car's got more power than mine, apparently. That's fine, because I can just bounce off a wall into him and dispose of him that way. Alright, big pile up around this corner that I'm going to have to remember to brake out the way of and get collected by the Raven West car. Alright, that's how you do it. I'm glad that rewinds exist because I had to practice that, avoiding that accident until I got it right. This is where I'd like the old engineer to come in and give me an update on the standings and tell me where I need to finish to get first overall as a driver. But I guess he's not going to do that. Doesn't want to distract me because of how difficult these courses are to drive up the inside. I can probably get away with finishing behind my teammate, but I don't want to because finishing behind my own teammate would be embarrassing. I completely missed what he just said, so I hope it wasn't about my championship position. Fairly certain it wasn't. And was only one door on my wagon, and it's pulling to the right. But apart from that, I'm in the lead, safely and securely, so it's fine. I just need to hold on to it and not hit anything else. Which shouldn't be too difficult, because the only reason I was crashing into so much stuff before is that all my opponents were going really slowly. All the accidents were their fault for going so slow that I ended up in the back of them. Or accidents were because they kept bouncing off walls in chicanes and collecting me. And apparently Nathan McCain has crashed, but he's probably not out. He probably just nudged a wall and they thought, oh, let's tell him he's crashed. Get his hopes up. My teammate's crashed as well. Let's get him to hold that position. No, he's dropping back through the field. Put him back on balanced. This is another episode where the teammate, after I pass him, the teammate chokes completely. Maybe I should have just stuck behind him. If I could get this car to turn. Whatever. Too late to apologise. Because my flashbacks won't let me go back that far. I'm just going to finish out the race in the episode. And then maybe record another one, to be honest. I mean, it's not like I've got anything to talk about, but I'm on a roll with recording right now. And I've really got a feel for this game at the minute, as I'm playing it. So, you know, could be worse going for... Oh, shit. No, never mind. I don't want to record another episode of this. I need to save some commentary for the episode of WRC I need to record. Because I managed to end up behind on that somehow. So there we go. I hope he doesn't replay it too often or he'll notice how much I crashed. Me first overall, team second by only 3 points. Didn't manage to lead a lap, or drive faster than 105 miles an hour for all that long, or complete a race without collisions. But most of the sponsors were okay with my performance.
It's only going to get tougher from here, but you're showing you've got what it takes.
There we go. First, another trophy for my trophy cabinet. And I've got above level 6, which has got me far enough for the Grid Masters Trophy in terms of the street career. So I'll probably move to a different discipline for whatever next episode of...
Team wanting you to race in Tier 3. It'll be a change in car class, so expect the competition to really heat up. The rewards will match your effort.
So I'll probably... Well, it depends how many events this is. Only 6. I can deal with doing 6 events. That's not going to take a ridiculous amount of time. But next week, I'll probably go through in the order that I did the first time round. So Street, Tuner, Touring, Open Wheel, then Endurance. Moving up in the classes, compared to the last time I raced in them each time. And because of the amount of experience I've got is above where it should be on the most part, you know, I won't have to do 2 championships. I could get away with only doing 1 if I so wished, but I'll probably end up doing 2 just to be on the safe side and for the sake of keeping everything near enough the same. So that was, yeah. So anyway, I've got to do, no, I don't have to, I'm choosing to. Like every Let's Play I do, I'm choosing to, but gonna go ahead and do an episode of rallying now.